Imagine holding a tiny coin worth just 10 cents, but in the right condition, that same coin could be worth thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars. From historic treasures of the 1900s to modern, minting mistakes worth a fortune. These dimes aren't just pocket change, they're hidden jackpots. Stay tuned, because you might just discover that a rare coin is hiding in plain sight. Let's moving on. First up, 1976 D United States 1 dime, Roosevelt dime, Denver Mint. In 1976, the United States was celebrating one of the most important milestones in its history, the bicentennial, the 200th anniversary of American independence. All across the country, excitement was high, and the U.S. Mint played a big role in that celebration. While the quarter, half dollar, and dollar coins were given special bicentennial designs with dual dates of 1776 and 1976, the humble dime retained its classic design featuring Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse and the torch, olive branch and oak branch on the reverse. Even though it didn't get a special commemorative look, the 1976 Roosevelt dime still carries immense historical significance because it was minted during the bicentennial year. The Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark placed on the obverse just above the date, struck an impressive 695,222,000 dimes. In 1976, this was a massive production run, reflecting the heavy demand for coinage in circulation at the time. Because of this high mintage, most 1976 D Roosevelt dimes are very common in circulated grades and can easily be found in pocket, change or bulk coin rolls today. But the story doesn't end there. What really excites collectors are examples that have survived in pristine, untouched high mint state condition, especially with strong strikes, vibrant luster, and full torch details on the reverse, which numismatists call full bands. These full bands designations are awarded only to coins where the horizontal bands on the torch are completely separated and show no weakness or flatness. Finding a 1976 D dime with sharp details like that is far more difficult than it sounds, because most dimes went straight into circulation and suffered wear, scratches, and bag marks from the minting process. That's why collectors chase those near-perfect examples. They represent a coin that somehow escaped decades of use. In terms of value, common circulated examples of the 1976 D dime are worth just face value, 10 cents. However, in uncirculated condition, prices begin to climb significantly. A bright, lustrous example graded MS65 might sell for around $25,000 to $40,000, while higher grade gems with the coveted full bands designation become far more desirable. At the top end, a 1976 D Roosevelt dime graded MS67 with full bands once sold at auction for an impressive $500, making this otherwise ordinary-looking dime into a highly valuable collectible. This record-breaking value proves that condition and strike quality make all the difference, turning a small 10-cent coin into a numismatic treasure. So when you look at a 1976 D Roosevelt dime, you're not just holding a piece of small change. You're holding a coin from one of the most celebrated years in American history, struck during the bicentennial, and potentially worth hundreds or even over $1,000 if found in pristine condition. It's a reminder that even the smallest coins can tell the biggest stories. Next up, 1977 D United States 1 dime, Roosevelt dime, Denver Mint. The year 1977 followed the great bicentennial celebrations, but it was still an important period for the United States Mint. By this time, the Roosevelt dime had already been in circulation for over 30 years, since its introduction in 1946 to honor President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. The design remained unchanged, with Roosevelt's dignified profile on the obverse and the reverse featuring the iconic Torch of Liberty, flanked by an olive branch of peace and an oak branch symbolizing strength and independence. The Denver Mint again played a significant role in producing dimes for circulation, striking an enormous 376,607,428 pieces in 1977. While this was a lower output than the bicentennial year, it still represented hundreds of millions of coins entering daily commerce. Most of these dimes saw years of circulation, and today they are extremely common in worn condition. For collectors, however, the hunt is not about ordinary examples. It's about locating high-grade survivors that retain their original beauty and sharpness. What makes the 1977 D dime special is the challenge of finding coins in exceptional mint state grades, particularly those with strong strike characteristics. Just like with the 1976 issue, Numismatists pay close attention to whether the horizontal bands on the reverse torch are fully defined. Coins with this detail earn the full bands designation, and they are far scarcer than the mintage might suggest. Circulated examples of the 1977 D. Roosevelt dime are worth face value. Just 10 cents. Uncirculated pieces, however, can command premium prices. A nice gem in MS-65 condition might sell for $11,000 to $50,000, while MS-66 examples with eye-catching luster and clean surfaces can sell for even more. But the real prizes are the coins. Graded MS-67 full bands. These ultra-gem specimens represent the pinnacle of quality for this issue. At auction, the record for a 1977 D. Roosevelt dime in MS-67 full band stands at an impressive $25,000, proving once again that condition and detail elevate the ordinary into the extraordinary. It's fascinating to think that a coin once used to buy a gumball or a bus ride could now be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars because of its pristine preservation. For collectors, the 97D dime is more than just a piece of small change. It's a symbol of mid-1970s America, carrying the legacy of Roosevelt while reminding us of the everyday coins that quietly connect history, artistry, and rarity. Even though billions of dimes have been struck, only a tiny fraction survive in gem quality, making the 1977 D a worthy addition to any serious Roosevelt dime collection. Next up, 1979 United States 1 dime, Roosevelt dime. By the late 1970s, the Roosevelt dime had already been an everyday companion in American pockets for over 3 decades. First introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the dime had become a symbol of both leadership and progress. The design remained familiar. Roosevelt's dignified portrait on the obverse and the reverse, showing the torch of liberty, flanked by the olive branch of peace and the oak branch of strength and independence. The year 1979 was significant because it marked a turning point for U.S. coinage. Just as this dime was entering circulation, the U.S. Mint was also preparing to launch the Susan B. Anthony dollar, a bold but short-lived experiment in changing America's small dollar coinage. Against this backdrop, the Roosevelt dime continued to carry on its quiet but vital role in commerce. In 1979, the Philadelphia Mint struck 760,000 dimes with no mint mark, which at the time was the traditional practice for coins struck at Philadelphia. That's more than 500 million pieces, ensuring that the 1979 dime would be readily available for everyday use. While this enormous mintage makes it extremely common in circulated grades, high-quality uncirculated survivors tell a very different story. The challenge with 1979 Philadelphia dimes lies in finding coins that were struck with precision and have survived in pristine condition. Many suffered from weak strikes, contact marks, or poor luster. Collectors especially prize examples that show sharp details and the elusive, full bands on the torch. The horizontal lines that indicate a strong, crisp strike. Circulated 1979 dimes are only worth face value, 10 cents, but when you move into mint state grades, the value increases dramatically. Coins graded MS-65 might fetch around $135,500 to $14,000, while MS-66 pieces in brilliant condition can push even higher. The real gems are those graded MS-67 full bands, which are exceptionally rare. At auction, one of these ultra-high-grade, full bands examples reached a remarkable $15,000, proving once again that quality, not just rarity, drives collector demand. So the 1979 Roosevelt dime is more than just a simple coin from the end of the decade. It's a bridge between eras in American coinage, common in everyday circulation, but incredibly valuable in its finest forms. For collectors, it represents both the artistry of the U.S. Mint and the thrill of finding hidden treasures in the smallest denominations. Next up, 1980p United States 1 dime, Roosevelt dime, Philadelphia Mint. The year 1980 was a historic one for the Philadelphia Mint because it marked the very first time the P mint mark was used on a U.S. coin intended for circulation. Before 1980, coins from Philadelphia typically carried no mint mark, leaving collectors to distinguish them only by process of elimination. But with the 1980 Roosevelt dime, that all changed. The letter P appeared proudly on the obverse of the coin, just above the date, forever altering the way collectors and the general public identified Philadelphia issues. This innovation makes the 1980p Roosevelt dime historically important in its own right. Millions of Americans handled this coin without realizing they were witnessing a milestone in U.S. mint history. Collectors, however, immediately recognized its significance. And to this day, the 1980p dime remains a cornerstone for anyone building a complete Roosevelt dime collection. The Philadelphia Mint produced a massive 735,070,000 dimes in 1980, a staggering figure that ensured plenty of examples for circulation. Yet despite this high mintage, quality matters greatly. Many dimes from this year were struck quickly and carelessly, showing weak details and contact marks from heavy handling. As a result, finding pristine examples with sharp strikes and bright luster is a genuine challenge. The reverse of the coin, featuring the iconic torch, olive branch, and oak branch, provides one of the biggest tests of quality. Collectors seek out those elusive full bands examples, where the horizontal lines on the torch are fully defined. These pieces prove that the coin was struck with maximum precision, and they are vastly scarcer than ordinary strikes. In circulated grades, the 1980p dime remains worth just face value, but in mint state, values climb sharply. A solid MS-65 example might sell for $16,000 to $75,000, while superb gems at MS-66 or higher are even more sought after. The true rarities are MS-67 full bands coins. At auction, a record-setting 1980p Roosevelt dime in MS-67 full band sold for an astonishing $95,000, showing that even modern-era dimes can reach $6 figure values when preserved in top condition. The 1980p dime is therefore a coin of both historical and numismatic importance. It represents the debut of the Philadelphia mint mark, a change that would become standard across nearly all denominations, and it embodies the collector's pursuit of perfection. What appears to be an ordinary 10-cent piece can actually carry tremendous value and historical weight, a true reminder that even the smallest coins can tell big stories about America's past. Next up, 1981p United States 1 dime, Roosevelt dime, Philadelphia Mint. The early 1980s were an interesting time for U.S. coinage. Inflation was high, the economy was shifting, and the U.S. Mint was producing billions of coins to keep up with the nation's demand for circulating currency. Within this backdrop, the 1981p Roosevelt dime emerged, carrying with it both historical significance and numismatic intrigue. By 1981, the Philadelphia Mint was only in its second year of regularly using the P mint mark on dimes. Introduced in 1980, the mint mark had quickly become the new standard, and for collectors, this was a defining change in modern coinage. The 1981p dime, therefore, represents the early stages of this new identity for Philadelphia issues, struck in huge numbers. A total of 627,628,000 dimes. It was a workhorse of commerce, moving in and out of circulation millions of times a day. On the surface, the design of the coin remained unchanged from its introduction. In 1946, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt's portrait dominates the obverse, a tribute to his leadership during the Great Depression and World War II, and to his founding support of the March of Dimes campaign to combat polio. The reverse still carried the timeless symbolism of the Torch of Liberty, flanked by the olive branch of peace and the oak branch of strength. Yet what makes the 1981p dime exciting for collectors is not its design, but the pursuit of quality. Most of the 657 million examples produced were handled roughly, showing the typical bag marks, scratches, and weak strikes that plague mass-produced coins. Finding a coin that has survived untouched, with brilliant luster and fully defined details, is a real challenge. As with earlier issues, the most desirable examples are those with full bands on the reverse torch, where the horizontal lines are perfectly separated and sharp. In circulated grades, the 1981p dime is worth only its face value of 10 cents. But in pristine mint state condition, the story changes dramatically. A bright uncirculated example in MS-65 might sell for $21,000 to $22,000, while higher grade MS-66 or MS-67 coins command far more. The real treasures are the ultra-rare MS-67 full bands pieces, which represent the very best survivors of this massive mintage. At auction, one of these finest known examples sold for a record price of $24,000, proving that collectors are willing to pay top dollar for perfection, even when the coin itself seems common. The 1981p Roosevelt dime is therefore a coin that teaches us an important lesson. Rarity isn't always about low mintage, but about condition. Among hundreds of millions of coins, only a handful survive with flawless quality, and those are the coins that achieve legendary prices. Next up, 1967 United States 1 dime, Roosevelt dime, no mint mark. The 1967 Roosevelt dime holds a very special place in the story of modern U.S. coinage. Unlike the dimes of the early 1980s, which are prized for their high-grade survivors, the 1967 dime represents a unique moment in American history. The nationwide coin shortage of the mid-1960s, and the sweeping reforms that followed. To understand why the 1967 dime is special, we need to go back just a few years earlier. In 1965, silver was removed from the dime. Up until then, dimes had been made of 90% silver and 10% copper. But rising silver prices caused massive hoarding, and people pulled silver coins out of circulation faster than the mint could produce them. This led to a serious coin shortage across the country. In response, the U.S. Mint changed the dime's composition to a clad alloy, a copper core sandwiched between layers of copper nickel, which is still used today. But that wasn't the only change. From 1965 through 1967, the Mint also suspended the use of mint marks on coins. This meant that dimes struck at Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco during those years carried no identifying mint mark at all. The purpose of this decision was to discourage collectors from hoarding coins by mint location, as so many had done in earlier years. The result is that the 1967 dime, no matter where it was struck, shows no mint mark, making it part of this rare 3-year experiment in U.S. coinage history. In 1967, the Mint produced a staggering 3,044,732 dimes, over 2.2 billion pieces, making it one of the highest mintage dimes of the entire series. Most of these went directly into circulation, where they were used heavily. Today, circulated examples are extremely common and worth just face value. But for collectors, the real interest lies in finding pristine examples or special varieties. Proof-like examples exist from the 1967 special mint sets, which were issued in place of proof coins that year. These SMS dimes often show sharper strikes and more reflective surfaces, making them highly desirable. Collectors also prize coins that display strong strike details, especially full bands on the reverse torch. While a typical circulated 1967 dime is worth only 10 cents, uncirculated mint state examples are valued far higher. In MS-65, they might sell for $25,000 to $25,500, while top-tier gems command significant premiums. The ultimate rarity is the MS-68 full bands, an almost flawless survivor. One of these sold at auction for an extraordinary $28,000, setting a record for the issue and proving that even the most common-looking coins can be transformed into treasures when found in exceptional condition. The 1967 Roosevelt dime tells a story of change, adaptation, and survival. Born during the transition from silver to clad coinage and issued without mint marks as part of an anti-hoarding policy, it captures a fascinating chapter of U.S. history. Next up, 1972 United States 1 dime, Roosevelt dime, no mint mark, Philadelphia issue. By the early 1970s, the Roosevelt dime had already become a familiar part of American life. First introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the design had become iconic, with Roosevelt's profile on the obverse, and the reverse, featuring the torch of liberty, flanked by the olive branch of peace and the oak branch of strength. It was a coin Americans carried daily, often without giving it much thought, yet collectors know that even a common dime can hold remarkable value under the right circumstances. In 1972, the Philadelphia Mint struck 431,540,000 Roosevelt dimes, nearly 500 million pieces. At this time, Philadelphia still did not use a mint mark, so all 1972 dimes without a mint mark can be attributed to the Philadelphia Mint. With such a large mintage, most of these coins went directly into circulation and were used for decades in everyday commerce. Because of this heavy use, finding pristine, untouched examples today is much harder than it sounds. The 1972 dime is made of the same copper-nickel-clad composition, introduced in 1965 after silver was removed from dimes and quarters due to rising silver prices and mass hoarding. While the clad dimes were practical for circulation, they often suffered from weak strikes, bag marks, and dull surfaces, especially from the Philadelphia Mint during this period. Collectors therefore place a strong premium on examples that survive with bold luster, clean fields, and sharp details. The most critical detail on the reverse of the dime is the torch. Collectors look for the so-called full bands designation, which means the horizontal lines across the torch are fully struck and clearly separated. On most 1972 dimes, these bands are weak or flat, making full bands examples scarce and highly desirable. In circulated grades, a 1972 dime is worth only its face value of 10 cents. But when preserved in mint state, the story changes dramatically. A bright, attractive MS-65 example might sell for $300,000 to $35,000, while MS-66 coins in top condition can go higher. The true rarities are the MS-67 full-band specimens. These coins, representing the very best survivors of this massive mintage, are almost never encountered in the wild. At auction, one of these finest known examples achieved a record price of $41,000, elevating an otherwise ordinary dime into a four-figure rarity. What makes the 1972 Roosevelt dime so fascinating is its dual identity. On one hand, it is one of the most common coins of its time, something nearly every American handled and spent, without a second thought. On the other, in the right condition, it becomes an elite collectible, a coin that proves how quality and detail can transform pocket change into a treasure. For collectors, the 1972 dime represents the challenge and thrill of modern numismatics, hunting for perfection among the billions. Next up, 1975 United States 1 dime, Roosevelt dime, rare no S-proof variety. And finally, we reach number 1 on this countdown, the most valuable coin of them all. At first glance, the 1975 Roosevelt dime seems completely ordinary. Billions of dimes were struck in the mid-1970s, and most Americans alive today have handled countless examples. But hidden within this sea of common coins is one of the rarest and most mysterious modern numismatic treasures ever discovered. The 1975 no S-proof Roosevelt dime. To understand this rarity, we need to talk about proof coins. Proofs are specially made coins, struck with polished dies and specially prepared planchets to create sharp details and mirror-like surfaces. They are not intended for circulation but are sold to collectors in proof sets. In 1975, proof coins were struck at the San Francisco Mint and carried the S mint mark to identify their origin. But in an extraordinary minting mistake, a small number of proof dimes were struck without the S mint mark. This error went unnoticed at first, and the coins were released in 1975 proof sets. Only later did collectors realize that a few of these sets contained dimes with no mint mark at all. The rarity of this error cannot be overstated. Fewer than a dozen examples are known to exist, making it one of the greatest modern coin rarities in the United States. What makes the 1975 no S-proof dime even more fascinating is its timing. It came just 1 year before the U.S. Mint would issue the bicentennial designs of 1976, making it a kind of last ordinary year dime before a major national celebration. Yet, by missing its mint mark, it became anything but ordinary. In terms of value, the 1975 no S-proof Roosevelt dime is legendary. While a normal 1975 proof dime is worth only a few dollars, the no S variety commands astronomical sums. At public auction, these coins have sold for well over $500,000, with one of the finest known examples reaching $656,000. This makes it not only the rarest Roosevelt dime, but also one of the most valuable modern coins in all of U.S. numismatics. The 1975 no S-proof dime teaches us an incredible lesson. Even in the modern era of mass production and advanced technology, mistakes can happen, and when they do, they can create treasures worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. For most people, the dime is just small change, something tossed into a jar or left in the car. But for collectors, this particular dime is the holy grail of the series, a nearly priceless rarity that captures the thrill of the hunt in numismatics. So as we close this countdown, the 1975 no S-proof Roosevelt dime stands at the very top. That's the end of today's countdown. Coins full of history, surprises, and hidden value. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, follow, and join us again for more incredible coin stories coming your way soon.